As I was brainstorming ideas for my first video essay of the new year, there were several games that I could have chosen to discuss. Void Bastards, a game that expertly combines roguelike and immersive sim elements and wraps them up in a comic book inspired cel-shaded art style, was a strong contender, but I was too far along the game to have captured any introductory sections of the game. Similarly, Tripwire's so-called Shark PG, Maneater, was another contender, since the game's repetitive combat, mission structure, and overall open-world design resulted in it being a bit of a disappointment. However, I also had progressed too far into the game by the time I considered it an option. But at least it got me an easy platinum trophy. Hashtag humble brag. Lastly, I wanted to talk about The Binding of Isaac, and how its modernization of the Old Testament parable, combined with the roguelike mechanics, tackles its religious themes in a way that no other medium can accomplish. This game has a special place in my heart because its core message resonated with me on a spiritual level and ultimately restored my faith with God. Although I could have talked about it whenever I wanted, the release of the game's final expansion, Repentance, in March has given me an opportunity to discuss it then rather than now. As a result, the game I wanted to tackle was one that I had already discussed in great detail. And although I was initially only going to address the weapon meta that emerged from the integration of Black Ops Cold War content, and why I'm worried about the integration of future Call of Duty entries as a whole, recent developments involving game-breaking bugs, problems involving cheaters and hackers, and general lack of support has led me to change directions. As a result, I have decided to focus this video essay on the overall state of Call of Duty Warzone, why this game is still problematic nearly a year since its release, and what publisher Activision needs to do immediately if they do not want to face the ire of the community even further. And oh boy, it is not in a good state. Let's start off with the most recent development that prompted this discussion. To be fair, every online multiplayer game has had their fair share of cheaters and hackers, whether it's people speed hacking or levitating in Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout, or aimbot and wall hacking in any competitive shooter. However, the developers behind these games have usually cracked the code after a few months, utilizing an anti-cheat system or coming up with clever alternatives like sending these misfits to a server dedicated to only cheaters and hackers. While these methods aren't perfect and don't eliminate the problem completely, they are often successful in keeping the game's integrity alive, and the fact that the developers are doing their best to mitigate the problem is very welcome. Warzone, on the other hand, hasn't had a dedicated anti-cheat system since its release back in March 2020, and cheaters and hackers have run rampant throughout its life cycle. Although Activision and Co. have issued permanent bans to these accounts, its commitment to do so has been reactionary rather than preventative, and has done little to stop the problem. Given the game's free-to-play nature, all that these cheaters need to do is create a brand new Activision account before jumping back in and wreaking havoc all over again. Furthermore, this ban hammer has often led to a slew of players who are actually playing legitimately suffering bans without any explanation whatsoever, and I don't think I need to explain why this is terrible. Therefore, without any sort of anti-cheat system, this problem involving cheaters and hackers was never going to be resolved. So when Activision failed to act, the community was there to take to the fight themselves. Recently, a third-party Call of Duty Warzone companion app was not only created for the sole purpose of showcasing the stats of players within your lobby, but was also utilized as a tool to confirm any cheaters within those matches. Since Warzone uses a skill-based matchmaking system, or SBMM as it is commonly referred, suspicious instances of cheating were much more easy to detect if a single player with an insanely high kill-death ratio was matched in lobbies where players had a much lower KD ratio. Although I am personally not someone who chooses to use third-party companion apps in-game, I was in favor with what the developers of the app were doing in order to preserve the integrity of the game. However, this came to a halt when Activision decided to update its API and drastically change the visibility of stat tracking on all Activision accounts, with private being the default setting. As a result, this action not only confirmed long-standing rumors that Warzone had a strict skill-based matchmaking system, but effectively shoved the problem of cheating under the rug rather than acknowledging it. Sure, this might have been done to protect the privacy of its users, but the timing was incredibly suspicious, and the manner in which Activision ignored this problem led many to worry about the possibility of cheating in a tournament where actual prize money was on the line. But come on, like that's ever gonna happen, son of a bitch, it actually happened! On January 21st, the first Twitch Rivals tournament for Call of Duty Warzone was held with $250,000 awarded to the winning team, and accusations of cheating were thrown right out of the gate. Although various members were cleared, and one team was inevitably disqualified, the fact that accusations were being made by these professional players was understandable, since they have witnessed cheating within public matches on a daily basis. If Warzone had added an anti-cheat system from the beginning and taken greater measures to curb this behavior, none of this would have happened in the first place. Warzone is a great game at its core, but its reputation is slowly dwindling due to it being a haven for cheaters and hackers nearly a year since its release. As of writing this episode, Activision has yet to address this issue in an official statement, but they have expressed interest in introducing Warzone into the flagship esports scene of the Call of Duty League, so yay? Nevertheless, their silence on the matter speaks volumes, and it honestly won't surprise any of us if a cheater winning the top prize at a world championship tournament becomes the moment when Activision takes this issue seriously. When Warzone players aren't dealing with cheaters and hackers, they're probably dealing with the plethora of bugs and glitches. Now, every game doesn't launch in the most perfect state, and bugs are bound to pop their ugly heads out from time to time. Day 1 patches have become a way to clear those problems even after the game has been certified gold, but it's a different story with online multiplayer games. Usually, the launch week serves as the data collecting grounds for developers, as more issues tend to pop up when the game is thrust into a live environment of millions of players. The feedback provided by these players gives insightful information to developers on what needs to be adjusted or fixed, and hopefully these changes are fast-tracked towards a hotfix soon afterwards. Sure, bugs and glitches can be mildly annoying, but sometimes they can be unintentionally hilarious due to their extremely random nature. Remember in Apex Legends when you could stack a row of caustic traps on Gibraltar's gun shield? Remember the bug where players could melee each other in the dropship and down them before they even launched? While these were of course problematic, they weren't totally game-breaking and were often patched out in a quick notice. The bugs and glitches in Warzone, however, are not only annoying, but extremely game-breaking, and every update that has been introduced to fix these issues seemingly creates an entirely new problem. To name a few, a glitch where the textures of your weapon would turn it into an alien monstrosity, obscuring your vision. Similarly, the textures of character models turned enemies into blob-like creatures, making it difficult to accurately shoot at their designated hitbox. A bug that turned players invisible, yes, invisible, as a result of character cosmetics or an exploit. A glitch where exhausting the final tick of the gas mask right before entering the gas circle threshold would permanently etch the cracked gas mask into your vision. A bug that let players use tactical equipment an unlimited amount of times. They would then proceed to either stun other players to Kingdom Come before killing them, or, worst of all, camping in the farthest corners of the map to infinitely heal themselves outside the circle by spamming the stem shot. While some of these have been fixed, some have either reappeared or still exist in the game. In fact, the stem shot glitch reappeared in the game as recent as this past week for the 4th time. Furthermore, a simple solution like vaulting the stem shot temporarily could curb the exploit, similar to what Respawn Entertainment did with the Sentinel sniper rifle in Apex Legends. But the developers of Warzone haven't done so. In fact, the developers often take days, if not weeks, to actually remove these bugs and glitches from the game, and it's a miracle if the update goes smoothly without any sort of problems. On a somewhat similar tangent, Warzone hasn't had any substantial changes to the map since its launch, outside of minor additions like opening the secret bunkers, adding Easter egg hunts, and opening previously inaccessible areas like the interiors of stadium or train station. Yet, the Verdansk experience as a whole remains largely unchanged because it hasn't had major additions like brand new POIs replacing already existing ones, something that nearly every Battle Royale has done to keep things fresh. As a result, players have been playing on the same map for nearly a year, and the Warzone experience has gotten extremely repetitive and stale. However, Warzone did have one chance to breathe new life into the game, and the opportunity was fast approaching with the arrival of a new, premium entry in the Call of Duty franchise. One of the lingering questions brought up near the end of my previous video essay was how the upcoming Black Ops Cold War entry was going to be integrated into Warzone. Since then, it was revealed that Warzone would remain as its own separate entity from future Call of Duty titles by keeping the same engine, lower time to kill, and movement systems like tactical sprint and mounting that was synonymous with 2019's Modern Warfare. Additionally, a unified progression system was incorporated into Black Ops Cold War, Modern Warfare, and Warzone, and a near recreation of Blackout's smaller, close quarters combat Alcatraz map was introduced in the form of Rebirth Island. Yet, the most surprising news to come out of this Black Ops Cold War integration was the addition of its 30 weapons along with the accompanying attachment system to the already existing 60 from Modern Warfare, bringing Warzone's total arsenal to a whopping 90 weapons. Although this gave players the opportunity to level up and complete camouflage challenges within Warzone, this also came with some drawbacks. For one, those who had already purchased Black Ops Cold War a month prior had a significant advantage, as they could easily level up their weapons and unlock their desired attachments within the multiplayer modes of that game. One of my good friends who decided not to transition over to Black Ops Cold War and continue to play Modern Warfare described how difficult and time-consuming it was to level up these weapons by only playing Warzone. It was almost as if players needed to purchase a separate $70 game or purchase bundles in the in-game shop to utilize these weapons to the best of their abilities. Furthermore, the weapons in Black Ops Cold War were more suited for a game where players had increased health but still maintained a rather low time to kill. As a result, taking the same damage profiles of those Cold War weapons and putting them in a game with a significantly lower time to kill was bound to create some balancing issues. However, the sudden dump of 30 new weapons became even more problematic when a new weapon meta emerged in the form of the DMR-14, the MAC-10, and the Diamatti. The DMR-14 was a semi-automatic tactical rifle that boasted little to no recoil between shots, a very effective damage range, and a 3-shot kill on the body or 2 with headshots. With the right attachments, players, regardless of their skill, were able to beam enemies at long distances and take out teams before they could even react. The MAC-10 submachine gun was introduced in the game via the Season 1 Battle Pass, and the fact that its fire rate outclassed all other SMGs made it a hot commodity. But when kitted out with attachments that extended the magazine and reduced the recoil, the weapon became an absolute fire hose as it shredded anything within close to even mid-range. Similarly, the Diamatti pistol has dominated the close quarters engagements as a result of its 3-round burst capabilities. As a secondary, a single Diamatti is capable of taking someone out, but running them akimbo style greatly increases the damage output. Although strong weapon metas weren't new in Warzone, as was the case with the Growl 5.56 assault rifle and the Broom MK9 light machine gun, you weren't required to use them to be able to compete, because as effective as these guns were at longer ranges, their low mobility made them difficult to use in close quarters engagements. However, since the DMR-14, MAC-10, and Diamatti covered both long range and close quarters engagements, there were essentially no drawbacks to them. As a result, this Black Ops Cold War meta practically made Warzone unplayable, as it forced players to use these weapons if they wanted to win, let alone compete in gunfights. Because of this, I chose not to play Warzone for the time being, but this mentality permeated into Black Ops Cold War's core multiplayer, as players were either running the DMR-14, the MAC-10, or akimbo Diamattis. Since the Black Ops Cold War integration was released just before the holiday break, the developers didn't address this issue until after the new year. Yet, the first patch to these weapons did very little to actually nerf them, so a second patch had to be introduced a few weeks later. Although that second patch seems to have done the job, the damage from the Cold War weapons meta can still be felt, as many players that I have encountered in Warzone either have the MAC-10 or the DMR-14 within their loadouts. Given how botched this integration has been, it almost seems as though suddenly dropping 30 new weapons into the game without proper testing was a bad idea. It also makes me worried about future integrations with upcoming Call of Duty titles, if weapons are going to be added in such a haphazard way. Therefore, I hope the developers can learn from this and avoid making the same mistake in the future.
Enemy UAV overhead.
While I wish I weren't discussing Warzone in such a negative light, given that I had already done so, the general discussion around this game has been nothing but controversial lately, whether it be from professional players, content creators, or gaming journalism. Warzone is a great game at its core, with endless potential moving forward, but its reputation keeps getting squandered by the underlying problems with cheaters, rushed integration of Black Ops Cold War content, and the general lack of support from Activision. Now you might chalk this up to me being disrespectful and harsh towards developers because I hate this game, and argue that these developers weren't prepared for the sudden popularity of the game. To that extent, I would most certainly agree with you. But compared to Respawn Entertainment, a studio that created two critically acclaimed yet commercially unsuccessful games before scoring a massive hit with Apex Legends, it really is no excuse. Apex was developed by Respawn and its Vancouver studio for later seasons, while Warzone was made by 3 main developers and 4 support studios, working on a franchise that has cracked the top spot of the year's best-selling games multiple times within the last decade, published by a company with one of the most overpaid CEOs. Thus, when you put those numbers into perspective, the money and resources needed to implement an anti-cheat system, fix those issues, and invest in better servers are clearly there, but aren't being put to use because Activision is the embodiment of corporate greed. While Call of Duty Warzone won't necessarily die, since it has brand recognition and a massive player base of over 70 million, the developers' reluctance to shake up the game in meaningful ways, and Activision's inaction in dealing with cheaters effectively could convince players to transition to greener pastures like Apex Legends and Fortnite. If Warzone wants to stay relevant and talked about for more positive reasons, something needs to be done immediately. But at the end of the day, the moral of this story is Activision. Hey y'all, Alistar here to mix things up with a live action outro. Thank you guys so much for watching this video essay on Call of Duty Warzone. My deepest apologies for taking longer than expected to deliver this video. Although many others that are much more knowledgeable have already covered the subject, I nevertheless wanted to offer my opinion on the matter since so much time and effort went into writing, recording, and editing this in-depth critical analysis. And I hope you guys look forward to more video essays like these in the near future. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you're already subscribed, make sure to ring that notification bell so you're updated whenever future videos go live. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day, and I'll catch you guys next time. Janet!